Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Sio, Summer Wilkie Dawadon, Jijalagi, Ayotli'i Awatasa. I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and I'm from Barron, Oklahoma. My name is Summer Wilkie. And it's my pleasure to be moderating this panel on the rights of land and water with really awesome panelists. Including Junior Scraper beside me. He is a Cherokee elder and a retired iron worker who lives in the Cherokee Nation. And then Dr. Christine Hallman, who is a professor at the Northeastern State University and who is interested in the rights of nature and helped inspire this panel. And then Amber Walker. She is a Cherokee tribal citizen as well from Bellefonte, Oklahoma, and she just graduated with a degree in social work from the University of Arkansas in Fort Smith, and now she's working in speaker services at the Cherokee Nation, for the Cherokee Nation. And then our esteemed elder at the end, Anna Six Killer, is one of my mentors and amazing teacher. She's a medicine keeper and she's worked in translation at the Cherokee Nation for a long time and is still there working. And so we're thankful to have her on the panel. And then I'm just going to open it up with the first question for each panelist. Tell us even more about yourself, if you don't mind, like where you're from and anything else you want people to know about you.
My name is Junior Scraper, and I guess I grew up around Bunch, Oklahoma, in a little area called Moa. That's where I was, well, I guess you say raising up, I guess. And I went to grade school at Cave Springs Elementary, and then I went 2 years high school at Cave Springs. And the last 2 years, I went to the Indian school in Lawrence, Kansas, high school, junior college. What they call it, High School Institute for that, but now it's called High School Junior College. And I'm 3/4 Cherokee and 1/4 Creek, so forgive me for that. but Ostage one is like, I do speak fluent Cherokee, so thank the Lord that He's given me this language to, maybe share with others that might want to, learn it.
I'm Christine Hallman, and I'm just a small town country girl from Kentucky. My hometown is Adairville, Kentucky. It has about 900 people. And before my parents retired, they were factory workers and farmers. And when I was a kid, we raised tobacco and cows, and we were outside a lot. And I got attached to the earth and water and the trees, and went on to study all those things later on. And I teach at NSU. I teach geography, and I'm really honored to be part of this panel. I'm not native, but I'm so grateful to be here.
So my name is Amber Walker, and I grew up in a small town, a small community outside of Stillwell called Candyman Springs. I am a social worker now, and people probably wonder how my job ties back to traditional medicine. Well, I work with the fluent speaker population of Cherokee Nation. So, and my job is to help sustain and maintain the health of that speaker population. That includes tying traditional wellness and medicine techniques to behavioral health and psychological coping mechanisms. And so that is kind of what I do at the language department.
My name's Anna Six Killer, and with me, I grew up further down the road called Leach. That's where I was born and raised, and then went to school. And then when I grew up, I just went to school and then graduated, and then I went to Northeastern, but I didn't finish. But nevertheless, I worked for the Heritage Center for about 17 years. I worked inside the gift shop, and then I managed the old village that was there. Enjoyed working in both places. And then now I've been working for the Cherokee Nation as a translator for 24 years. Last Wednesday will be 24 years. But I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing things with my language. The Creator had given me this language, in which I am full-blood Cherokee, and spoke the language that's always spoken at home. So I am very familiar with the Cherokee language. That's who I am.
Well, thank you all for sharing about who you are. And the next thing that I would like everyone to talk about is I want you to remember back to when you were a kid and tell me about a special place that you remember playing outside when you were little. For me, I grew up on the Barren Fork Creek. Really, it was a smaller tributary to the Barren Fork, and then Little Lee Creek in Bell, and I played outside all the time in the creek, you know, and I learned so much about the environment where I lived because I was playing in it. And so, you know, some of my memories are learning different plants that grow next to the water, playing with the rocks, which ones, you know, you could use to ride on other rocks and stuff, you know, and games that we would play. And I learned a lot about the environment by playing as a kid. And so I would like to hear from each of you about like a special place, maybe a forest or a creek or a river or a pond or whatever it was, you know. Was there some place like that that was special to you, and what do you remember about it?
Well, that's why I grew up too, around this bunch area. You know, I didn't have really any chances to go anywhere really, because we couldn't afford it. The family couldn't afford it. You had to, like said, go out and make your own plaything, like rolling tires or playing in the creek, like I said, look for crawdads, but you know, we just didn't have very many things to do. Just make games up ourselves, maybe have neighborhood kids to come and play with you. I remember one thing back when I was young, there used to be some apple trees that someone had planted, and they had real small apples, about the size of a persimmon, like that. And since we didn't have nothing to do, we'd have fights with. that was our entertainment too. Well, if you got hit with one of them green apples or persimmon, then you felt it, that too. But yeah, it did. And other than that, that's it. There was a small church in Malone, and I attended that. I don't know if I really knew what I was doing, but you were told to go to church, and you did it, you know. And it's good to have other kids around your age to, you know, to play it, go out and play it. You know, sometimes you might get crossways with someone, but you know, they're still your neighbor.
Especially if you're throwing apples.
That's right. I think that once while somebody threw in a rock with that to make it look. But yeah, it is. I enjoyed my childhood days, and I would just. I think I'd like to do it again. But that's how my childhood days. And went to school, grade school, and played the little sports. Oh, I thought I was playing sports. I guess I was included in that, and that was good for me. I thought that.
Sounds like good memories.
Yes, it is. Really good memories.
Christine, what about, what kind of memories do you have of what it was like where you grew up? And do you especially think that that inspired you, to have the kind of career that you're having?
Well, like Junior, ours were crabapple fights. And Mama yelled at us for that. But yeah, I think for me growing up, it's kind of hard to pick one place. But we were always outside, and we grew tobacco and gardens, and so my hands were always in the dirt. And I would pick up rocks and look at the rocks, and I remember my granddaddy taking us to the edge of the field into the woods, and he would talk about the trees and different kinds of trees. And he was a great storyteller. He wasn't sure what was true and what wasn't true, but it were always great stories. And we would go to the creek and catch catfish with bologna and cheese, and put them in a bucket, and then take them to the river and let them go. And I think all that time as a kid being outside was really important for me, wanting to learn more about how things work, how does the water work, and how does that affect rocks, and then how do trees grow, and why do they grow where they do, and really think about how is it all related to each other, and my connection to all those relations. And I think that's kind of how it all kind of inspired me.
So I grew up at Candy Mink Springs, so water was a big thing for me, and even in my culture, we go to water, and so it's something that I can remember as a kid, just being on the creek and always being by the spring and hearing the sound of the water, and it soothed me. And even today, if I'm having a stressful day or anything, I go by the water. I will go and sit by a creek, or I will listen to it, and it, I spent all of my time outside in the woods, and my grandma, I grew up with my grandma, and she would take me out in the woods with her, and she always taught me to be very respectful of nature, and that everything was like a circle. And so, she told me to never go in there, with bad intention. I remember one time my cousin was cutting a tree, and just cutting a tree just to cut it, and boy, he got switched so bad for it. And it was because, my grandma, she was like, those are living things, and that tree's not doing anything to you, and you need it to survive, And so, from the jump, my grandma always just taught me to be very respectful of nature, and how if you're good to the mother, she'll be good to you. And so that's kind of just how my childhood kind of tied me into this.
With me, I grew up just like the rest of them. We really just lived off the land. My daddy was a great farmer. He farmed acres and acres of different things. Corn for sure. Corn was for the animals and for us, and then for the meal and flour. And then we grew all of that. And then we, he would lease about 20 acres somewhere else, and then that's where he would grow the 3 different kind of corns. And so by our house, we have a large garden, which is corn again there, beans, anything that we could put up, and that's what I helped Mom do. And then things, berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, anything off the land we canned. We even canned poke, anything that we could find that is to eat, we canned for the winter. That's what my job was growing up, washing jars, canning, and but I learned a lot of things by doing that. I learned how to survive off the land, and I can still do that if it comes to be. And really, we just lived off the land. And then in the wintertime, we didn't have to go to the store to buy this and that, and we always had everything canned. And then Daddy would buy some hogs, and then we butchered them, and we put them in the storage. We called it. We smoked it, and anything else, maybe kill a deer or so, and then he would do the same. We had meat there, And then we'd make kanachi, and we just had everything from the house, off the land. That's how I grew up.
That sounds amazing. That sounds beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm so happy that we have you on this panel because I'm going to just ask you the next question. I would like to hear then, you know, how is that different today? You know, how is that place where you grew up different? How do people live different? It seems like not very many people are living off of the land in the way that you described, providing everything for their food. You know, what other differences do you see?
Yeah, to me it changed a lot. Just like the place I used to live when I grew up too. They hardly nobody lives in that place anymore. And that's the way most people, I guess, the jobs are more off in the distance. If you want a little better paying job, or you can just stay around. But to me, it's just like Amber said that everything that we had to eat, we had to raise or, you know, bargain with someone to get something like that. You know, we couldn't just run down to the 7-Eleven or something and buy that. And we had to, in my case, we had to walk a long way even just to go to the store or a place, a bigger creek to go swimming in. By the time you got back to your home, you was all hot again and all that. But that's just the way things were. And the school that I went to, you know, there was a school bus come by. We get in and go to school, spend our time there. And I think I got a pretty good education. I mean, like I said, you were just, what you were told to do, you did it. You know, you didn't talk back very much back then. Not like most kids do nowadays. It's just, but it's really changed. It really has.
Anna, I want to hear from you too about what changes you have noticed, you know, and especially around land and water and access to those kind of life ways that you were talking about.
Well, when I really think about things back, it was okay. And then after I got married, it was still, no, I'll take it back. No, what I want to say is when TV came about, and everybody was able to buy them and to have them in their homes, farming stopped. Anything that you could do outside stopped because everybody was so interested in that TV. They let everything, or we let everything else go. Farming, food, and, you know, fishing, crawdad hunting, go getting watercress, things like that. It just quit. So from then on, we had to depend on stores. We had to go buy flour, sugar, anything that we used and could have raised in our home if it continued. But that's when I see that it just quit. And, you know, before that, I forgot, the only thing that we bought, or I remember Mom and Dad buying, was tobacco, Mama's snuff, and Daddy's day's work, and kerosene, salt, and pepper. That's what we bought at store. And anything else that we had to eat throughout the winter, it was there. So yeah, that's when I see that things went to the wayside. Even older people that farmed all the time, they were so interested in that TV that just couldn't comprehend what was going on. But anyway.
That was a big change, a dramatic change.
It was a dramatic change.
Well, and Amber, you talked about this a little bit, but what do you all think is the relationship between Cherokee culture and environmental stewardship and that kind of relationship of living with the land. I would like to hear from Amber, but I'm going to ask everybody too. You know, is there something you want to say about like being Cherokee and environmental quality and how those two are related?
Yeah, it's integral to who we are as Cherokee people. You know, like it's integral to our identity, land, and water rights, because we like when we talk about who we are, or you know, as a people, we were sustenance level. You know, like we only took what we needed. Mm-hmm. We didn't take more than what we were supposed to, you know. And so like that comes back to, you know, tying it back to like being respectful of nature. And the land has rights, the water has rights, and it's important because that's how we survive, you know. And so like tying that back to who we are as Cherokee, I mean it's in everything, you know. It's in our language, it's in you know how we live our lives, and the principles that we live our lives by. And so you know, that's just a small part of it.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and I agree with you. And I think that the changes that Anna described from her childhood to now have come along with a change in how we view the world around us and our relationship to it, because we're not directly getting our sustenance from the land. It doesn't seem as important anymore. We're getting it from the grocery store, and so we don't make that connection all the time. But I think that's changing, and I'm excited about the changes that I see taking place. And people like you are inspiring, Amber, because you're a young person, you know, who realizes that connection is there, and that gives me hope. And I hope that the elders feel the same way. But Junior, what do you think about the relationship between taking care of the environment around us, and is that a Cherokee value, and does Cherokee culture depend on that?
I believe it is. I don't think it's just the Cherokees, but any tribe is, you know, they're interested in taking care of what God has given to us, you know. And like you said, that seems like most of our food nowadays is, well, it comes from the store, supermarket, Walmart, Reese's, or wherever we shop at. It seems like most food nowadays that come from overseas. You see some fruit or food that I've never seen before, but I guess if you don't know what it is, you don't. Maybe you'll take a chance and try some. But I think we as natives try to take care of the environment, about where we live, you know. And just like that was said, that I don't think a person should take more than what they really need. Leave some, you know. And you know, overall, I think we're doing a fair job. I wouldn't say we're doing a bad job, but I think most of us know how important it is in our environment.
Well, we've been talking about food, and so I'm going to say let's go ahead and admit that you know, our current contemporary agricultural system is contributing, and sometimes to a great extent, environmental degradation and a loss of biodiversity, and impacting our access to healthy water and plants and animals. And but we all have to eat to live still, you know, so
Yeah, that's
I
true,
realize
uh-huh.
that agriculture is important. And I wondered, I guess, Christine, I'll give you a chance just to talk about that a little bit from your perspective of your research, if you wouldn't mind, about you know, the impact that you see from agriculture, but also if you have any ideas about how we can still eat, but maybe more sustainably environmentally.
Well, here in eastern Oklahoma, there's issues with the water and agriculture. These large businesses like mega poultry houses, and then even large scale like agriculture. And when it rains, then that stuff runs right off and goes into the water, and then everything downstream is affected with that. And then the areas around the streams, the trees and plants are cut down, so that anything that runs off goes right in. It's not stopped or filtered in any way, and that impacts the water here. I think small things matter, and I think everybody can make a difference. And so if farmers would leave those areas of trees and plants next to the waterway, then that would be a chance for reeds and all sorts of things, river cane, to filter that water so it wouldn't get in there. I think we all need to learn how to grow a garden. You know, some of my students don't know where their tomatoes come from. You know, so I think we should all try to grow something, tomato plant or squash or something, and I think that would really help us build a relationship with seeing those patterns of life and how that relates to us. And in a small way, everybody can plant something and see that. And maybe small gardens will grow and everybody will realize where the food comes from. And farmers markets, those are great too, really local farmers markets. I think everybody doing something small will add up.
I think so too. Yeah, those are all great ideas. And whenever I was coming over here today, I was thinking about having compassion for people who are providing our food, because they may not really want to have a job that is polluting the environment, you know, but they may also not have the means to change that. And so, you know, I would like to think of myself as someone who, you know, could find ways that we can all work together to improve the sustainability, the environmental sustainability of our food systems. Amber or Anna, do you guys have any thoughts on that, about how we feed ourselves and if we can do it better than we are today?
Probably growing a garden is probably the best thing to do at this point, you know, because we've all done it before. My family, that's what we lived off, you know, of our garden, or, you know, we didn't go to the store to buy anything. So I guess it's best to go back to do that again.
I agree with Anna. Just like on most things, yeah, definitely kind of changing. Well, I mean, I just keep going back to like the sustenance level type of thing, you know, and just like not taking more than what you really need.
That's
you know?
right.
That would be a good start.
Yeah. I like what Junior mentioned too about economic development, because if people are making a living by raising animals, maybe more than they need to survive, but that's their way that they're making money, well, it would be good if there were other options for them to have a successful life without needing to rely on that income. And we don't, especially in rural, you know, eastern Oklahoma, you know, there are hopefully growing opportunities for people to have other careers, but agriculture is still a big way that people support themselves. So that's part of the problem too, I think, part of the challenge. Junior, is there anything you wanted to add on that?
Well, that's what I think too, that sometimes I think we're easy to blame somebody else when we leave ourselves out, you know, to take some of that blame too. And that we all have our part in, you know, doing up even just a little part. And you know, like I said, there's so much things that come from far off, from other countries now, too, that impacts the way we do things too. And I'm not talking about food, but you know, just like fuel. Where do we get our fuel at? It's mostly from overseas, and they're the one that control how much we have to pay for it. And I think most of us know too that we have a large source of fuel in our country too. I think that needs to be tapped into too, not just rely on, you know, overseas commodities too.
And maybe exploring other forms of energy that we could use.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I try to, I guess, my sis and I, we try to find the cheapest price gasoline everywhere we go. That
Me too.
I think most of us like to do that. But, I think all of us just have our part to do to help our environment.
You're exactly right when we're talking about our environmental impact. The fossil fuel industry is part of that, and you know, we all buy gas and drive. We all drove to get here probably, and so we'd be hypocrites if we didn't talk about it. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think, you know, as Cherokee people, we've all talked about it a little bit in different ways. Or several of us have, about how that environment, the health and quality of our environment is part of who we are as Cherokee, and having access to the healing that comes with going to water, or being able to carry on traditions around gathering
Food.
plants and stuff. All of that is integral, like Amber said, to being Cherokee. And so I just want to you know, say that as Cherokee people, we should be protecting those ecosystems that provide those things for us. What do you all think about protecting the environment, and especially, I think, like how it's gonna be necessary for us to carry on our culture and our ways and our identity as Cherokee people? Do you think that the environment is part of that?
Yeah, I think it is, and I'm glad that the tribal governments are doing all they can to keep our language going too. You know, I think most tribal governments are doing their part. You know, and I think we need to support them and, you know, do our part. I know I can't tell you to learn Cherokee, but it would be nice to learn a few words, you know, at least maybe know your name in Cherokee or something, you know, or your kids, your grandkids. Because nowadays, there's, languages that mostly come from overseas, you know, that I'm not against someone learning another language, but I think we should do our part too to keep our own language, to keep going, you know.
I'm really glad you brought up language. I agree. I think it's related. And Anna, I guess, would you be willing to speak on how the Cherokee language preservation and revitalization, do you see that as related to environmental revitalization and restoration too? Yeah.
It has. See, when I was growing up, all the Cherokee families spoke Cherokee, the kids and everybody in that household. But as time went on, it was different now. Even my kids, well, they understand everything that I tell them in Cherokee, but they can't reply back, or I think they can't reply back because they try to talk back. It's something, I don't know what it is, but they understand everything, but they can't reply back in the language. But you know, it's not really, they don't know it. They know all the language, you know, and they understand anything I say to them. But as far as getting the language going again, man, one has to be really dedicated. We have a teacher at OU who's teaching, and he started when he was young, but he's a white boy. But he speaks it, I'll say, fluently, and I know some others that are that way. And but you really have to want to, in order to really comprehend to do the things that you want to. Like if you want to speak Cherokee, you have to work at it, and you have to be dedicated and want to. I think the main thing is you have to want to. Mm-hmm. And if you just think, well, I'll go to school and I might learn it, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to want to. But anyway, that's my language, and I'm a translator and still going as an elder.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good insight. I'm trying to learn the language, but I could try harder. And if you're not honest with yourself about your priorities, you know, you're wasting your time, aren't you? Yeah, that's a good insight. And I think that as far as like the connection to the environment too, that there's words for all the plants and animals and all of the biodiversity, and that you know, we might be able to have a conversation, but we may not be able to talk about you know, a rare plant that is important to Cherokee people. If that doesn't exist anymore, then how are you going to teach a young person about that plant or that word in Cherokee? It won't mean anything to them. So I think that's part of how language is related to environmental conservation, and those two practices of revitalizing our culture are related, you know. So we're getting close to the end, you all, and I would like to just open up the floor. You know, you're probably tired of me asking questions, but does anybody else want to ask anyone else on the panel a question? Anything at all? Or is there something else that you would like to say?
I know. Well, to me, I just like to encourage, like I said, do all you can, or do your part to you keep the language going. You know, I know. I'm not saying they're not doing it, but it's good to have all these programs that, you know, keep them going. You know, because it is our language. That's who we are. Whatever tribe you're at, ain't it? If you're a Cherokee, you're Cherokee. And I'm not saying that y'all ain't doing it, but I just like to encourage everyone to keep the programs going. Do all you can, and you know, whatever we say, do you know, give the honor and praise to our Heavenly Father. He's the one that helps us. Anything we do, He's a helper, and He's always ready to help when you ask.
I appreciate that you said that. You reminded us all too that the environment, the things that we get from nature, that is a gift as well.
It is a
for us
gift
to
from
be
God.
thankful for. Yeah, that was a good point. Amber, you look like you have a question or a
I actually was going to ask Anna a question, but then there's like 50 going in my head because I'm so excited to get to be around her, to get to learn from her. She is an absolute treasure, definitely. And so what would your advice for someone who wants to try and protect the land and the environment to be, what would be the best practice to go with, or what would be your advice to me going forward?
To protect the land? Man, that's a hard question, because it just, I want to say it's so far gone, but it's not. We can redo, we can, first of all, I think you have to put it all in here, and you have to want to, and this is what I'm going to do, and do it, you know, while we still can. That's because it's not completely gone. It's still there. You just have to take it again.